Okay, hello waste-free Jaegers. Thanks for joining me for Wine and Waste. This week things look a little bit different as Sean was not able to join us tonight. So it's just me. For those of you who do not yet know me, my name is Emma. I am the education manager with Waste Free Edmonton. So Waste Free Edmonton is a local grassroots organization. We are completely volunteer run. And we have a goal of significantly reducing the single-use plastic waste in Edmonton. So one of the topics that we wanted to explore was the idea of an Ecobrick. If you're joining us live, please give me a thumbs up if you've heard of an Ecobrick before, thumbs down if you have no idea what I'm talking about. We actually just finished doing last week an Ecobrick workshop, Sean and I together. So it was a really awesome virtual event. It was really cool to see people engaging, either if they showed up on their own, in couples. We had some cool roommates just hanging out on a couch, working on their Ecobricks together. Lots of really awesome discussion that happened. So I'm here tonight to just kind of recap a little bit what we covered during our Ecobrick workshop. And I also had a couple Waste Free Edmonton related updates as well. So, one thing that we wanted to put on everyone's radar is we're currently looking for a fashion specialist. So textile waste is crazy huge. We're looking at somebody who's really passionate about fashion to kind of spearhead some projects and collaborate with us on a couple of things. So as with all the positions at Waste Free Edmonton, it is a volunteer position. The guideline for hours is we're probably anticipating maybe 2 to 5 a week in terms of time commitment. So if you are passionate about fashion and textile waste or know somebody who is, please share with them that position. We are accepting applications on our website right now, wastefree.ca. Another thing to throw on your radar is we are coordinating a really awesome Earth Day garbage pickup. So we're also looking for some volunteers for that. We have an email slated to send out with some more information on how you can get involved, or on more details on how you can just go out into your neighborhoods. No need to volunteer in any official capacity, and pick up some garbage on Earth Day with us, which is April 22nd. I believe that falls on a Thursday. So yeah, that's what's going on with us. If you have not already signed up for our newsletter, highly encourage you to go do that so that you can get all of those details. But on to Ecobricks. So like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we just finished running a virtual Ecobrick workshop. So I have mine right here. We went through kind of the history of it, why to Ecobrick, but one really, really important thing that we really emphasized is we are not a global Ecobrick Alliance affiliate. This was just us sharing our knowledge and how-tos and tips. So one of the biggest ways that we suggested using this Ecobrick is actually to use it as an opportunity to reflect on some of your own waste habits and to kind of treat it as a waste audit. So this is the one that I completed. If you are not familiar with an Ecobrick, it is essentially any PET plastic bottle packed solid with plastics. So the idea is to sequester the waste and to turn it into a new commodity. So instead of looking at it as waste, looking at it as something new you can use to build. So if you go to ecobricks.org, they have tons of information on different things that you can do with them. You can build with them inside, you can build with them outside. You can kind of put some together. They would get attached if you're using them inside with silicone, and you kind of create these little modules and you can build stuff with them almost like a giant Lego and make some stools or benches, tables, stuff like that. Or you can use them outside with earth building. Maybe you can make a raised garden bed. So you just want to make sure that it's packed with the clay sand mixture. The name is escaping me what it's called, but if you're earth building, that's a more long-term use for them. And then when you're done with that structure, you can always salvage the bottles and continue to use them afterwards, or your Ecobricks. So you'll also notice once you're done, you get a serial number and the weight. So they need to be packed full to a certain density. The way that you can figure out is when you're packing it, you want to have a kitchen scale handy so you can weigh as you go. And it needs to be between 0.33 and 0.7. So if you weigh it, you want to multiply the milliliters of the bottle. So this was a 1 liter bottle. So I did 1,000 times 0.33, and that gives me my minimum weight. You want to make sure you don't exceed if you multiply it times 0.07, in which case it's too dense. So we had tons of fun hanging out with everybody, talking about the different kind of stuff that goes into here. Last month on Wine and Waste, we talked a lot about the types of plastic that find their way into our blue bins that don't actually get recycled. If you're not familiar, only about 9 to 11% of the plastic in your recycling bin does get recycled. So this kind of opened up for some interesting conversations about the recycling system, about how recycling is not the solution. We can't recycle our way out of our plastic problem, and about what we could do and how you could come together with community to build things with Ecobricks. So one thing, if you are local to Edmonton and you're hoping to collaborate, is you want to make sure you're using the same type of bottle as people in your community if you want to be able to build something together with them. So the bottles that we have chosen, these are 1 liter President's Choice sparkling water bottles. One interesting thing to think about is I wouldn't have bought this if not to create this Ecobrick. So kind of weighing the pros and cons of what you are doing with your plastic. Of course, the best thing to do is to reduce the amount of it being consumed altogether. But it's something kind of cool to think about. And what I really do like about Ecobricks is that it encourages personal but also local responsibility for plastic waste. So I know Ecobricks don't like it to be called plastic waste because it's its own commodity. Actually, when you register it with the serial number, it gets reviewed by other eco-brickers around the world. And I believe there's like a brick coin. It's like a e-currency. I'm bad at that sort of thing, but it kind of tracks how much plastic is sequestered and converts that into an e-currency, which I think is kind of interesting as well. But yeah, so if you are wanting to build with people in your community, we are using the President's Choice 1 liter bottles. But of course, the most sustainable bottle to use is the one that you already have. You could also maybe consider asking your neighbor. I know initially when we were getting started with this, that was the route I was going to go. Is I posted in my local Buy Nothing group to see if anybody had one of these already. I tried a couple of times. It was kind of obscure, odd ask. Hey, does anybody have this very specific bottle in their recycle bin? Unfortunately, the answer was no last time, but maybe next time. Or if you do ever happen to have something, or maybe somebody at work has a bottle that you can wash and use. A couple of things to think about if you are building your Ecobrick, and this is something that you think you want to get into, is everything needs to be clean and dry. Plastic only goes in here, and like any kind of plastic can go in here. So you don't want any paper, you don't want anything biodegradable, and you don't want any like gunk or garbage or food left over on the plastic that is going in here. So it does need to be clean and dry. And if you are wanting to build something with your bricks, the bottom is going to be the part that you see. So it's nice to kind of plan ahead and go through all of your plastic at the beginning, which is a really great opportunity to do your waste audit and see what are your biggest plastic creating habits and how can you maybe edit those or change some of those. But it's nice to get all of the plastic at the bottom to be of the same color. When you are building your Ecobrick, the bottom you want to be soft plastic. So you'll be layering soft and hard plastic in here. When I talk about soft plastic, I'm talking about plastic that, if you try to push your finger through, it'll give a little bit of a stretch. That goes at the bottom. You don't want to use a hard plastic, which would be, I have one of these bags here. It doesn't stretch when you push through, like a cereal bag or a chip bag, granola bar wrapper, stuff like that. Those would be like the hard plastics. You don't want your hard plastic to be at the bottom. The soft plastic compresses a lot easier and it gives you a much stronger base. And then all of the hard plastics like this, you actually want to cut into smaller pieces. So that will help you pack more in there. So all of that gets kind of cut up and layered. So you'll put a fair bit of the soft, stretchy plastic at the bottom. You can layer some of the cut up hard plastic. I've even, like, you know, when you get plant-based milks in the carton and they have those little pull tabs under the lids, I'll cut those up to put in my Ecobrick. Even the label that like used to be around here, that's inside this Ecobrick now. So any type of plastic. Envelopes, when you get, if you haven't canceled your like mail out subscription from like banks or whoever has those little, you know, clear plastic windows in the envelopes, I'll cut those out and I'll put the plastic in the Ecobrick, and then that way the paper part of the envelope will get recycled. So all of it gets layered in there, and you just want to make sure you're cutting between layering between the hard plastic and the soft plastic, and you pack it down with a dowel. You want to start packing it down right from the jump, and I'd also suggest weighing it fairly early on so that you get an idea of how dense it needs to be, how tightly everything needs to be packed, because it's a lot easier to fix it earlier on. Once you get to the end and realize like, oh, I actually need to fit like twice as much in here in order for it to meet the minimum density requirement. If it's full and feeling kind of hard, it's gonna be really, really tough to pack it down further. So you wanna start packing it down right away. Make sure you're layering with your soft plastic and your hard plastic, and weigh early on. So those are the biggest tips for getting started with your Ecobrick. One of the conversations that I wanted to highlight that came out of us kind of treating it as a waste audit is lots of us looked at what we were putting in here. I know I personally was guilty of lots of chip bags, which are not recyclable, and we had lots of people commenting on things like granola bar packages. So instead of having a granola bar, we started sharing ideas for recipes. Like some people were making homemade granola bars. We were trying to share tips on how to make sure they weren't too crumbly or fell apart. Somebody else suggested instead of doing granola bars, trail mix has been their go-to, or those like energy balls. So it's not necessarily like stopping having something if you're making changes to some of those habits that you're creating. Lots of it just comes down to being creative with alternatives. And a really great place that you can go to lean into if you're looking for suggestions and alternatives is our Waste Free Edmonton group on Facebook. So obviously we're on Instagram right now. If you are also on Facebook, Waste Free Edmonton does have a group, and anytime I'm stuck for anything or looking for suggestions or not sure with something, like what I can do with it or where I can bring it, I always head to that group, and there's tons of really knowledgeable, passionate people that would be more than happy to share what they have to say. So yeah, those are my tips. If anybody that's alive right now has any questions about Ecobricks, or if any of you have started your own and have anything you want to share, please do let me know in the comments. Sorry, give me 1 second. Do you need something, buddy?
I'm just going outside.
Okay, have fun. Oh, the joys of lives at home. You just going to play with Charles?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Have fun. Yes, my apologies. So yeah, the Facebook group is a really, really wonderful place to lean into, and a great place to share if you're looking to source something locally. So there are tons of suggestions for local businesses that do offer things without the packaging, or even if you're looking for tips on how to find it in big box stores too. What's the best vessel to start an Ecobrick? That was an awesome question. If it's your very first one, I would suggest staying away from something big like a 2-liter, even though those are really common bottles. It would be really easy to find other people in your community. The reason I'm mentioning other people in your community is if you do want to bring your Ecobricks together to make a bigger project, you need to make sure they're all the same bottle. So our manager of communications did some research And the ones he chose, this one is a President's Choice 1 liter water bottle. And he didn't choose this because we are super fans of President's Choice water. He chose it because it's a really even cylindrical shape, so it'll stack really nicely, and it has a nice wide base, and it doesn't taper too much at the top. So this was the one that he chose. But of course, the most sustainable bottle is the one that you already have. The other thing that's good about a 1 liter bottle instead of a 2 liter bottle is you'll be shocked your first one how much plastic gets sequestered in these things. Like this one weighs 402 grams and it's a 1 liter bottle. So it's, when you're starting out, the first one, a 2 liter bottle, that's a lot to get in. And if you get to the end and realize there's no way you're going to meet your minimum density requirements, it's like impossible to fix. So even if it is just your first one, I would suggest starting with like a 500 ml or a 1 liter bottle, just so you can get a feel for what is required of you. The other thing you want to think of is you will be using a dowel to push it down, and your dowel needs to be at least longer than your bottle so that you can still hold on to it as you get to the bottom. And if you have a 2 liter bottle, you're going to need a much bigger dowel. So you want to make sure you have what you need to get started. That was an awesome question. If anybody that's hanging out in live has anything to add on, please feel free to be super, super active in the chat. Many heads are always better than one. Are there any other questions about Ecobricks, ecobricking, stories, thoughts? Yeah, it's one of those things, once you do it once, you really get a feel for it. So we just finished a Ecobrick workshop last week. It was a week ago today, and it was tons of fun. So lots of people, lots of questions. I'm working on getting a video edit of it up and running. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't have all the other participants in there too. So my date that I've committed to is May 5th, so the first Wednesday of next month, which will also be our next Wine and Waste. By May 5th, I will have our video workshop edited with all of the steps, all of the how-tos, all of the questions that were kind of asked along the way will work into that. So it should be a really great resource. The workshop was 100% by donation. So we'll probably do something very similar for the video afterwards. It'll be free, but with an opportunity to donate to Waste Free Edmonton, which you can all do anytime at wastefree.ca. Awesome. So I know it's a little quieter with just me and not having Sean. Usually there are both of us for our Wine and Waste. Like I said, something did come up a little bit earlier on, so I kind of flew through most of my talking points without having a soundboard or ideas, being able to bounce back and forth. One other thing that I really got out of eco-bricking was reconsidering, before I put stuff in here, if it could have another life before it becomes this eco-brick and gets either cut up or squished and kind of molded in here. So lots of the stuff that I was going through, I noticed one source of plastic for us is we still eat Triscuits. Like the guys will have cereal, so we have some cereal bags and Triscuit bags, which are both that hard plastic. So I know that it won't get recycled. And what I've started doing with those is actually using the cereal bags as like trash liners for the smaller bins in like the office or the bathroom. And I've been really careful not to just kind of line them in there, and then when it's time to take out the trash, I don't take that bag out and throw it in the garbage with the other ones, because then really I'm just sending it right to the landfill where it would be going anywhere just with some extra garbage in it. So I've actually been keeping them as the liner, and then I'll dump my waste bin out and keep the bag in there. So until like it's wrecked or there's too much stuff stuck to it and it's just not a good option anymore, and it's kind of reached the end of its life that way. So kind of reevaluating the use of the bags and the plastic or whatever the waste is that you do have, and seeing how you can extend its life. So that's been one thing. Another one that I've been playing around with, but I haven't quite figured out how to do yet is like chip bags, how they have that metallic, shiny, it looks like aluminum foil, but it's not on the inside. You know what I'm talking about? And last year over the holidays, the Christmas holidays for Waste Free Edmonton, I had done a video on a bunch of waste-free ways to wrap your gifts. And I just see silver, shiny, sparkly, and I'm like, maybe can I sew that into a reusable pouch or bag, or sew it into like a predetermined size and hem the edges? I'm not a seamstress, so we'll see what happens. But just kind of playing around with the idea of like maybe that can become a sustainable alternative to wrapping paper, which also doesn't get recycled. And then that's something that will get used from year to year. So one thing I'm always very conscious and aware of is in attempting to send as little as possible to landfill, making sure that my house doesn't become a dump in the meantime. So I don't want to just hoard and hold on to all of these things that I have no use of and no use for. It's been really tough. I'm sure lots of you can relate with the reuse center closed. But it's been good to kind of connect with the community and find other ways of rehoming and taking accountability for the things that we're done with. My local Buy Nothing group, if you guys are not in a Buy Nothing group yet, I cannot recommend it enough. It's been awesome to connect with people. The whole idea with a Buy Nothing group is that you give where you live. So I think there are about 15 in Edmonton, and you're only allowed to be a part of one. And it's just people in your community. So as you're done with something, or if it no longer has a place in your home, you can list it to be rehomed. And sure enough, somebody usually has interest in what you're looking to give. And also, if ever you're looking for something, instead of running out to the store, maybe throw a little message in your Buy Nothing group first. I was trying to do a project for a gift for a friend of mine, and I wanted to try my hand at shibori dyeing. And so I was looking for indigo dye. Instead of going to my local craft store, I figured I'll just put it in there. You never know. Maybe somebody somewhere has a box that's gathering dust. And sure enough, somebody had purchased it with every intention of dyeing a pair of jeans, and it had been sitting in their home for years untouched. So just by throwing that message in there, I was able to take that out of their home, and they were able to get rid of it, knowing that it would be used and appreciated. So if you do have stuff like that, even I've had, like if I've ever accidentally purchased the wrong spice or herbs or something like that. I had a pickling spice and I wasn't a huge fan of it. So I listed it in my Buy Nothing group, and of course somebody was able to use that. So it's been a really great way to thoughtfully rehome items that no longer have a space in my home. So yeah, just some thoughts that come across my mind. Well, I'm digging through the plastic that's going into my Ecobrick. So always thinking of it first and foremost as a tool, kind of as a waste audit and an opportunity to self-reflect. And then really looking at the end result as a way of taking local and personal ownership. So instead of shipping all of this plastic off to be recycled in Edmonton, where, as I mentioned earlier, only about 9 to 11% of the plastics in our bin actually get recycled. And often that gets sent overseas, where it just becomes somebody else's problem. Lots of ocean pollution actually comes from landlocked places as we transport our plastic waste. And it's awful to see all of it getting burned or incinerated, or just not properly disposed of. Or it gets stuck in the landfill where it's leaching toxins and chemicals. So it's a great way to kind of compact it and then keep it here and take ownership of our plastic waste. So unless there are any other questions or comments, or if anybody has any stories or anything about their waste reduction journey or eco-bricking that you want to share in the comments, I'll start getting ready to wind things down. It has been really awesome connecting with all of you. Just a reminder to keep your eyes peeled. We have an email coming out about our Earth Day garbage pickup. So you can either join with us, maybe help us out. We have a few volunteer positions that we're looking to have filled for our Earth Day cleanup. Otherwise, we're encouraging everybody to just get out in their communities and pick up some trash. And just like with the Ecobrick, look at it as an opportunity to reflect on the waste that is being created and what we can do to minimize that waste. The other thing that we wanted to leave on your radar was that we are still looking for, I shouldn't say still, we just made the post. It's a really exciting opportunity. We're looking for a fashion waste specialist. So if you or someone that you know is passionate about fashion or textile waste, then please do get in touch with us. We're accepting applications right now and cannot wait to have that position filled. So there's lots of really great work to be done there as well. And I think that's it for me. It doesn't look like there are other questions in the chat, so thank you guys so much for joining us. Well, me, this week it was only me for Wine and Waste. Our next one will be the first Wednesday in May, which I believe falls on May 5th. And that will be at 7 p.m. again. So I hope you have a fabulous rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys later. Bye. Yes, thank you. Bye.